Isn't it amazing what usually tends to dominate the conversation in our society sometimes? What can really just take over the culture and be the main focal point? A million problems going on in the world, but everyone's focused on Will Smith and Chris Rock at this awards show the other night. Like, what was it? The Oscars or Academy Awards, whatever. This is how much I keep up with these award shows, right? Like, I really don't watch them. I didn't watch this one, but good Lord, everywhere you go, someone is talking about this, right? So, I'm going to give my breakdown, what my opinion is of it here in a minute. Kind of talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but look, if you haven't seen the clip I'm about to roll at this point, you've probably been under a rock or just off the grid somewhere. But, I mean, this is everywhere. I mean, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, local news, global news, everyone is talking about this, to the point, like, even people just in my personal life, like, I would not expect to hear something like this coming out of, even they're talking about it. I mean, there are more people talking about this than there were people talking about something like the Super Bowl or Tom Brady's retirement, okay? This easily has gotten to the level of, as far as everybody talking about, like the climbing gas prices. Like, when gas went sky high, there was probably as many people talking about this as there were with gas prices. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the clip, take a look at this. We'll come back, we'll break down, we'll talk about what other people are saying about it. I'll give my take, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's take a look.
Lord! Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay. Okay.
All right, so first things first, okay? I was not aware of this before this incident. Apparently, there were a lot of people who were aware. Apparently, contrary to what some people seem to believe, there were also a lot of people who just were not aware of this, like, at all. And some of the people who were on Team Will are like, oh, everyone knew. Well, I didn't know. I had no idea. I don't know that Chris Rock knew either. But Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, okay, has a condition, alopecia, that causes patchy baldness. So she shaved her head due to that. And I don't blame her for that, honestly. So here's where I think the big thing comes in at, okay? Did Chris Rock know for a fact that she had that condition? Now, at first, I was hearing everyone's argument, which is that everyone knew it, and, you know, so he was making fun of her medical condition. So let me just start right there, okay? And I will go ahead and say I am not convinced at this point that he did know, and I'm going to come back to that. But let's just start from right there, okay? I've heard more than one person since this has happened who has come out and said that making jokes even at someone's medical conditions is fair game. Really? Okay. Has it been done? Absolutely, it's been done. Absolutely, it's been done, okay? You've got Eddie Murphy, who has made jokes about Stevie Wonder and him being blind and whatnot, okay? I think what that comes down to at the end of the day, though, is what is that person's comfort level? Because there are some people who have a medical condition and can just laugh it off. So, for example, take the people who've sat there at the Comedy Central roasts when they'll have people on. There have been people there who've had physical ailments of some sort, and jokes were made in regards to that even some people were like, whoa, but they laughed it off. They knew what they were getting themselves into, okay? And if you're fine with that being laughed off and it doesn't bother you, that's fine, okay? But me personally, and this is just my personal preference, and I am by no means some prude that doesn't like comedy with foul language or anything like that. If I had to go down a list of people that I like, let me just put it this way. I went to see Ron White, okay, very recently in Charlotte, North Carolina. Ron White is certainly not the most family-friendly comedian in certain. Now, there are a lot, more raunchy comedians out there for sure who get way more into the adult content realm, for example, than Ron White. But, he definitely pushes the envelope. It's definitely more for the mature audience at times, right? So I'm not a person that's like, oh, I got to have these wholesome family values in my comedy. But me personally, I feel like there's a better way, even if you're going to make jokes about the people in the crowd, than to make jokes about someone's medical condition, especially if you're not even doing something like a roast, for example, right? Like this is an award show, right? I'm not going to say treat everyone with the kid gloves, but I just feel like making jokes about someone's medical condition is very below the belt. I think it's a very low bar for comedy. And I just think there's other things that, number one, a comedian could do that could still light up the room, still be comedy without having to be almost so personally hurtful to someone, because you never know how they might feel about that condition. And, a lot of women do care about their appearance, and the fact she can't grow hair the way a normal, woman could due to her medical condition, that might really bother her, okay? But, as I said before, I'm not completely convinced that he knew it. Number one, I had no idea, so I don't know that he knew for sure. Number two, he could have just made some terrible joke about her condition, but he didn't. He made a reference to the fact of G.I. Jane. G.I. Jane had the buzz cut. Okay, well, she shaved her head. Jada Pinkett Smith the only person that's ever shaved her head that's a female? No, there have been plenty of other people that did. Britney Spears did it at one point, okay? There have been a lot of people, but a lot of females who have cut their hair very short, buzzed it off, shaved it off. It's happened before. So he might have just thought that was the style she was going for, and a lot of people have made the argument he was actually trying to throw her a version of a compliment by saying, yeah, you could pull off the role. You could pull that off, So the more I listened to it, the more I came around and I'm like, you know what? That does kind of make a little bit of sense. I'm not convinced that he knew of her medical condition, okay? So that being said, that to me makes what Chris said more reasonable, makes it more understandable, But Will Smith didn't react that way. He heard it. Well, first of all, let me say this. As far as his reaction is concerned, this is the thing. He was laughing. He was laughing at the joke. Now, if you're going to laugh about it, you ain't really got much room to get pissed off after it. So the argument comes in, if you noticed, she wasn't laughing, but he was. She's been cheating on him a lot. It's been well documented. She's made it known. So he turns, he sees how she's reacting to it, And then it almost something, whether it be he's afraid she's going to cheat on him again, or he's just thinking I'm going to stand up for my wife because she's uncomfortable here, which seemed to be what he signaled. He gets up, he goes over, and he slaps Chris Rock on the face. Now, here's the thing, okay? It looked like he had a slight smile on his face when he was walking away from it, okay? Looked to me like he had a slight smile on his face, which makes me a little suspicious of something else. But we'll get back to that, okay? So, he's laughing at the joke. He's smiling on the way back, and then he's crying a little bit later in the night. Something's off. Now, everyone's reporting on this. Everyone's reporting on this thing like it's just the absolute truth. And it may very well be. But let me just say this, okay? First of all, if some random person, came up to me and just downright insulted my wife for a medical condition, I would have to argue I would probably be very, very, very likely to just floor them. Because it's just offensive. I mean, Now, if you're going to a comedian show, again, I still just feel that's a low bar of comedy. I mean, it was in the Nutty Professor, right? Like Dave Chappelle played the jackass comedian that was trying to take people's physical problems in the crowd and use them to pick all over them, and then it wound up biting them in the ass, right? So, I mean, it's just a very low bar, and those things can be hurtful to certain people. And if you can't be a comedian without being an ass to people in the crowd, then you're not really very much of a comedian, okay? That's your fucking audience. You don't have to be an asshole to the people that are there. If that's the only way you can get your comedy across, you suck as a fucking comedian, okay? Point blank. And Chris Rock doesn't suck. He's got the capabilities. So, again, I don't think he was trying to do it for the medical condition, okay? That being said, Will Smith, being who Will Smith is, if it meant that much to him, could have easily, after the show, spoken to Chris Rock about it behind closed doors and put all this to bed. Just like, hey, man, I don't know if you meant this or not. If she's got a medical condition. If you weren't trying to deliberately insult her for her medical condition, I would appreciate it if you'd apologize to my wife. That deeply affected her. She cares a lot about that. It is my wife. I think you crossed the line. Man to man, I would appreciate if you'd apologize to my wife. Now, that's a manly way to go about it, too. Let it be known you're going to stand up for your wife. Let it be known she took it a certain way. Now, if that motherfucker, given that scenario, had responded to me, fuck your wife, I knew about her medical condition, I don't care, I'm going to make comedy however I please, yeah, I'd have probably still smacked the shit out of him then, too. I probably would have at that point, because now I've approached you diplomatically to work this out like two grown men, and now you're going to continue to disrespect my wife and disrespect me. Nah, I'll shut that mouth for you. No problem. So I've heard a lot of other stand-up comedians who've obviously pushed back. Like, this is normalizing this. And look, hey, I got to say this. I heard Jimmy Dore's take on this too, right? And I love Jimmy Dore. Okay, it's not like I'm going to cancel the guy over this. We'd probably have a difference of it. But he was like, Chris Rock could have sued. He could have brain damage from getting slapped, and no comedian should have to fear about this. And I agree. No comedian should have to fear about being attacked. But I'm going to be honest with you at the same time, okay? I don't think anyone came there to an award show with the intention of getting cracked on, basically, okay? And one thing about being a smartass to people, and I learned this a long time ago. Jimmy's talked about he's been attacked on stage. You ain't got to be a stand-up comedian. You can be just a normal guy. Walk through life like a smartass, making smart remarks at other people. Somebody is not going to see the humor in your shenanigans. And you will one day, and this is what I was told a long time ago, when you fuck with people all the time, and that's what you do, and you're a habitual button pusher, you're going to push the wrong button on the wrong man on the wrong day. And that dude is going to haul back and knock the shit out of you for it. That's why you just don't fuck with people, right? It's a general rule of thumb. You have a certain element of respect. So again, that's why I say you should be able to carry out comedy without having to roast the crowd. Now again, I don't think he was making a joke at the medical condition, so I chalk this up to, if this was a real deal, which brings me to the final point here in a minute, but if this was the real deal, then I would chalk this up to him making a joke that he didn't mean offensively, but it was the wrong place at the wrong time on the wrong day, and Will Smith, for whatever reason, he acted out on it. Now, to be clear, Will Smith has come out and apologized for what he has done. Chris Rock did not press charges. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but obviously Chris Rock didn't press charges on it. Will Smith has issued an apology on it. So with giving the apology, I would have to lean into there might be an element of truth that this was a real thing. But I'm going to be honest with you. At first, I wasn't so convinced this was even real. Who fucking cares about these damn award shows? Seriously. If you watch these things every year and you're just dying to watch these shows, please comment about it in the comment box. I want to see how many people actually give two shits about these award shows, right? So, controversy creates cash. What is something that's going to grab attention? And both those men can act their ass off. Will Smith smiling, walking away from it, was like he's trying to maintain his composure. Now, when he started the yelling and the cussing, that's fine. But guess what, guys? There's a couple of other people years ago that were working people. They were working the crowd to make them think that the shit they were doing was real. And they worked it on live television. Things you don't even do on live television, especially back in those days. You did not say bullshit and use the F-bomb on the Letterman show back in those days. You didn't do that. Somebody did. And it was a professional wrestling angle. You ever heard of Jerry the King Lawler? The King of Memphis, right? Infamous all throughout Memphis, Tennessee. And if you've watched the WWE or the WWF in the last 20 plus years, you've probably heard the voice of Jerry Lawler on the commentary team of Monday Night Raw. Okay? He's a legendary professional wrestler, great color commentator. Okay? Well, when he was wrestling, he had this little feud with a comedian, Andy Kaufman. And Andy Kaufman had this thing where he was going around. He was the intergender wrestling champion, right? So he was beating all these women in these wrestling matches. And then he had his first match with a man, which was supposed to be Jerry Lawler. And Kaufman won by disqualification because Jerry Lawler was dropping him on his head with the pile driver. And he gave him one after the match, and it jacked his neck up, and he had to go. And he wore this neck brace for months, right? And to get him on the Letterman show, and I mean, some of the insults Lawler's throwing him, Lawler's trying to make it plain like, I don't like this guy. I do not like this guy at all. And then, he was saying things like, what kind of man are you? I mean, things trying to come across personal. Now, people might have been still sitting there saying, they're trying to work us, until Jerry Lawler stood up out of the chair and open-handed smacked the hell right out of Andy Kaufman on live, well, I don't know if it was live. It was Letterman. Whatever it was. He smacked him right across the face, knocked him out of his chair. Kaufman gets up. He's walking around the open studio, and he comes over, and he starts doing this right here on live TV. Take a look at this.
And I did to Andy
And
exactly what I would like to
sue
do
you,
to
my
everybody
friend.
that thinks that way.
You're lucky I
because
didn't sue you.
It was a chance to show him exactly what
Would
it's
you
really
not-
like.
if
and
there
he
were-
found out what
would
it's
you-
really
Because
like.
let me tell you something. My father said, my manager said, they all said that I had a right, I could have gotten a lawyer and I could have sued you for what you did, and I didn't. And all I want is an apology. Even you asked me last time I was on your show if I was going to have a
That's
lawsuit,
right,
and I
yeah.
could have sued you. I could have sued you for everything you're worth.
Well-
and I didn't, because I'm not that kind of a guy.
Yeah. You know what?
What kind of a guy are you?
You're not the kind of guy you're.
I'll just be over here. We're going
You know,
to
as far as I'm
pause here for
concerned, you know,
station
I-
identification and get the hoses
No,
out here.
you can't say no. I am sick and tired of this bullshit.
Hi there, and welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. As you can tell, Andy Kaufman is here, sort of, and Jerry Lawler is also here, and there's some nights I wish Tom were here, but that's not the case. Is Andy, are you coming in here again, or?
I am sick of this bullshit. You are full of bullshit, my friend. I will sue you for everything you have. I will sue your ass. You're a motherfucking asshole. As far as I'm concerned, you hear me? A fucking asshole. Fuck you. I will get you for this. I am sorry to use those words on television. I apologize to all my fans. I'm sorry. But you're a fucking asshole. A fucking asshole. You hear me? A fucking asshole.
I think you can use some of those words on TV. I'm not.
Seems kind of like they really had some problems with each other to an extent, right? Well, some of you, like, looking at it, I can kind of tell it's not really real. But guess what? Complete work. None of it was a shoot. None of it was the real thing. They were acting. And they were trying to gin up business. They were trying to gin up popularity for this rivalry thing between the two of them, basically, right? That's what they were working at, okay? So the point being here, similar situation, and the argument is, well, he's yelling these cuss words on TV at the guy. Everybody thinks it's real. So I heard quite a few cuss words being yelled right there, and that was a 100% work. And this was at a time when using those kind of cuss words on TV was way, way, way more taboo than they are today. Society has evolved on the subject of cussing a lot more than back at 1982, okay? They're way more liberal with it today. You hear way more of it in the music than you did back in 1982. Okay, so society's definitely come around more on the cussing, and they're using it on CBS television. I'm guessing it's CBS, right? I don't know when Letterman officially came to CBS, but either way, they're using it on well-known public, TV station. You didn't do that. You just didn't do that. The only other person I've ever heard of make a slip like that, and I'm sure there are probably more, but the only other person I've heard made a slip and he immediately like, ooh, was when they had Joe Pesci on Letterman, right? So that was one. But that was a 100% work. It was a work. Now here's the thing, guys. Is there a follow-up to this Will Smith, Chris Rock thing? I don't think so. But there's one thing about it. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. And Will Smith has issued an apology now. Chris Rock did not press charges. You know, they played it off well. Okay? So, that begs the question. What do you think? I'm going to go with the jury's still out. I don't know. I really don't know. Because there's a big part of me that looks at that and sees the similarity and sees how everyone is talking about it. Controversy creates cash. It's got Will Smith's name being talked about all the time. Who was really talking about Will Smith prior to that? Chris Rock, same thing. There's a lot of people like Chris Rock. But you haven't really heard either one of them talked about in such mainstream terms up until this point. And people are more or less, when you go down and talk to people, it's almost like a 50-50 split. And I'm not saying who's necessarily right, who's wrong. I've already given my opinion on that. And there's a lot of people like, I don't see how anyone in the world could defend what Will Smith is doing. And then there are other people who are like, nah, stand up for your wife. He did the right thing. And even in like the South, I mean, there's a big thing with like Southern culture, right? Where you defend the honor of your wife. I mean, that's like an old Southern culture type thing, right? Which Chris Rock should understand about people. He was born in South Carolina. So, you know, there's a big thing to all this, and they're all being talked about. The show's being talked about, probably more so than it has in a long, long time, which is very coincidental. If this had been two random dudes doing this, no one would care. It's the fact that it's two well-known celebrities that it happened to. People care. So what do you think? First of all, whose side are you on in this? Let me know, and let me know why in the comment box down below. And in terms of what happened here, do you think this was a legit thing? Do you think this was just something that went off the rails? Or are you kind of like me and you've got this suspicion in the back of your head this is a work to draw attention, much like the Lawler-Kaufman situation was years ago back in 1982? Let me know in the comment box down below. If you like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button to help spread the video around. If you just found the channel, you like this video, make sure you also hit that subscribe button. And if you do, ring the bell so they'll tell you when we upload more videos, or you're never going to know. We appreciate you watching. Hope you're all doing well. Take care. We'll see you next time right here.